Cool. Just a
We're
couple
live.
minutes late.
Hi,
Couple minutes
everybody.
late, but we're good to go. All right, everybody. I want to welcome you to DevRunner. My name is Paul. I am an endurance runner and an RRCA certified running coach. And this is Coach's Corner. It's a live stream I like to do every once in a while on my channel where I talk to sort of movers and shakers in the running world. And I am very proud today to have Suzie from I Run Things on the channel. I am just I can't tell you how happy I am to be Suzie's running coach.
Oh,
Uh, I'm going to let Suzie tell her story of why we are currently working together to give you all some background. But yeah, I couldn't be more happy to helping Suzie toward her running goals. I also want to encourage anybody who joins us here on the live stream to jump in on the chat, and we'll be more than happy to shout you out and to answer whatever questions you have regarding running. And yeah, I think that's all we need to say. Suzie, thank you for being here.
thanks for having me. This is awesome.
So,
We have, even with the difficulties, technical difficulties, my microphone wasn't. So it took me a couple more minutes extra to get everything set up. But
yeah,
yeah,
but we're good to
Suzie,
go
I
now.
run things. I have a YouTube channel. I also have a podcast that's going to come. It's going to have new episodes. There's a new season coming up very soon. Hi, Mr. Germson. And I've been running 6 years, started running recreationally just to support my brother on his weight loss goals. And then I got beaten by the running bug. So now I can't stop running.
So
But
cool.
I've been trying to improve my marathon times for a while now. And I have improved my marathon times, I should say. But that BQ seems to be elusive to me. So Paul's going to help me to get there. And we've been training together 4 weeks, I think, now.
Yeah,
And
right around
so
there.
far, I mean, I am super happy. Things are going
I'm
really
so
well.
glad to hear that. I'm so glad to hear that because you've come so far so fast. I mean, that's one of the things I really wanted to get across to everybody who's watching this is the fact that, I always start off my runners with just a lot of sort of base building, a lot of easy running just to kind of get used to things and little tastes of speed, but in short enough bursts that it's not going to injure you. It's just going to get your body used to that sort of heavier strain. And I think a great way for us to sort of start this conversation, Suzie, is the fact that I've kind of thrown, we're building your mileage week over week, and we're adding in like strides, which is like 100-meter bursts of speed to get your muscles used to repeated strain without it being so constant that it's going to, hurt you. But we in a mere 4 weeks, we've kind of built it up to where you're now running half-mile intervals and even full-mile intervals where you're running at your tempo pace and you're holding it. And week over week, we're watching you get incrementally faster. And it's so exciting for me to watch the excitement that you get from that. I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
So it's interesting because I've followed training plans, like off the shelf training plans, plans that are free on the internet or on books. I've done Hansen's, I've done Hal Higdon. Trying to think, I ran with Runkeeper as well, with another plan from Runkeeper. I ran with Endomondo. So I've done speed training, but I've never seen anything these. I've never seen improvement so fast, so quickly. Which needless to say, it's possible. I hit it. We hit a plateau, and then we have to. I'm assuming shift things up a little bit, but I've never been able to like run my intervals faster. It's always been like, okay, I can hit this interval at this pace, and then the following week maybe I'm adding one extra interval, and I keep the speed. Like I can't go faster. That's like my limit. But with yours, it's like every week I can see the improvement. So, and I have to say, I think it helps a lot when someone's watching because
Yeah.
if you're following an app or a plan on paper,
Mm-hmm.
no one's watching you. Even if you're on Strava and you make, do videos on the internet, no one's really like following you. But with this, I know, like when I'm running, I'm like, okay, Coach Paul's going to see this. So I need to give it my all. Like I really need to go for it. So, it's another extra layer right there. And then I think I'm able to push myself because it's like, he's watching, like he's really paying attention. So I have to do my best. Not that any other time I wasn't doing it was also, but it's not the same thing because no one's really paying such close attention. At least I don't think. There might be someone out there who's like, look, Susie's like doing this. But, I know that you are, and that is just so, I don't know. It just pushes you forward. So.
Absolutely, yeah. I second what Toby is saying here. The Kilted Adventurer, another wonderful channel here on YouTube. Wonderful hiking adventures in Pennsylvania and the area, I believe. No, it's not Pennsylvania. I'm wrong. It's Tennessee area for Toby. But great channel.
I actually thought he was Pennsylvania too. So.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm getting it wrong.
No, it could be. It's possible.
Yes.
Tennessee.
Janet Paul, thank you so much. Yes, having accountability to another person, whether it's another runner or a coach, is so important because, like you said, Suzie, it makes you try harder. It really does make you dig in when you think there's no sort of energy left. You find it somewhere, because you're not only, yes, Toby, good stuff. Toby says Tennessee is correct. Good stuff.
Tennessee.
So yeah, I mean, it's one thing to want to improve for your own self, but when you've got eyes on every single workout that you do, it makes you really sort of just focus a little more. It's not that you want to please somebody else more than yourself. I think it's just that every run matters. It's not just like, oh, I can take it easy today. It's like, no, you're on a mission. Let's get this done. So
yeah, and I think there's also, because I know you crafted my plan with love and care. So, when I'm doing my run, it's not the same feeling as when you're doing something that a lot of other people are doing. It's just this one is like, okay, Paul thought about this. He put together this plan. I need to make it worth his while. It's like, I need to make this happen for your sake too. It's not only for me, it's for you too, because I know that you put thought into this and you made it especially for me. So,
well, I appreciate.
So yeah, it's like every one of these runs counts. So
absolutely, yeah, and I really truly appreciate your perspective on that because when as you said, when I'm crafting these training plans for people, I've already extracted so much information from you as a runner that I know your background, I know what your injury history is, I know in the recent past what your best times are, and I even put you through a time trial so that I can know really where your health and your fitness capabilities are at the moment that we start. So I always like to start people so that it's a little bit of a strain, a little bit of a challenge, but not so much that I'm going to sideline you with an injury. That's not the point. The point is to slowly, incrementally build your fitness so that by the time you're ready to toe that race start line, you're feeling good and you're feeling so much stronger than you were when we started the journey. Let me see here. I'm just going to bring up a couple of comments here.
Yeah.
Tweak your plan as necessary. Exactly. That's a huge thing. And what I'm seeing, Janet, what I'm seeing with Suzie is she is making gains in the speed department so quickly. Like we're talking about week over week, we're talking about on average, she's speeding up during her Tuesday speed sessions by 2, 3, 4 seconds on average, which a lot of people, they think, well, that's nothing. What does that mean? That just means you tried harder one week than the other. That's so not true. It's so not true. When people are really motivated, they go out there and you're trying your hardest. I can see it in your videos, Suzie. You're trying your hardest out there. And that kind of tiny 1 to 2% incremental change week over week, That's what adds up. By the time we're 3 months out from now and we're having the same discussion, that 1%, that 2% adds up to the point where you're going to be running like half-mile intervals 15 to 20 seconds, 30 seconds faster than you are now. And you're going to be like, wow, what seems so fast and hard back in late December is kind of like my tempo cruising speed, and I can do that for miles at a time now. And that's slowly what we're trying to do. Let's see, I just want to try to keep up with the questions that are coming in on the chat so we don't fall too far behind. Where am I located? I am in North Carolina, just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. And Suzie is just outside of Philadelphia, I believe.
Yep.
So,
and Mr. Jameson is in Singapore. So of all places.
Oh, wonderful. True. A coach's job is also to rein in the trainees' enthusiasm. Very true. Very true. And look who has joined us. We've got Bev on board now, coming from France. Wonderful.
Bonjour. Bonsoir. Bonsoir. Yeah.
There you go.
Bonsoir. Good afternoon.
Very cool. So yeah, Mr. Germson, you make a great point that a lot of times when a runner is coaching themselves, and trust me, this is for years this was true of me. You know, as I was learning not just the trade of being a coach, but just learning the trade of being a runner, I would go out and just push myself so hard, and I would run way more miles than I was supposed to, and just because I wanted to be better, and I wanted to be better now. And what that did for the first 5 or 6 years of my running career was just leave me injured all the time. You know, I was just overdoing it, and I was straining things, and I was, you know, popping ligaments, and, you know, it was just bad news. So that's why it's so important to bring it back to what I was saying before, Suzie. Why it's so important to make gains like week over week. You want to see 1%, 2% gains. Not, you can make bigger gains, but if you try to sustain big gains week over week, you'll usually get 5, 6, 7 weeks into a training cycle, and then the big injury hits, and that's no good for anyone. So,
right.
So yeah, Suzie, you're through January, your training plan that I'm foreseeing for you is really going to be a whole lot of. That's going to be like the base building introduction of speed and strength. By the time we get into late January, I think we're going to what the two things that you're really going to notice the way your training plan changes is that Tuesdays are going to morph into, we're going to start introducing shorter speed intervals rather than doing just a lot of half mile and full mile type of interval work. We'll start to introduce the shorter, sharper stuff. Like we'll go into quarter mile stuff, like one trip around the track. We'll start to go run some 200s. And the reason we don't do that off the bat is because the kind of speeds that you can build up when you're running that short a distance puts a lot of strain on your muscles, your ligaments, and your tendons. And if you just jump directly into that, I don't want to tell you how many runners I've seen injure themselves almost immediately doing that kind of stuff. So what we're doing is building up your ability of your bones, your muscles, your tendons to deal with that kind of strain with these milder half mile and mile intervals. And then we'll get you to the track. Tuesday will become your track day. Not that it can't be done on the roads, but as long as we can make sure that you're running exactly the same distance every single time you do a quarter mile or every single time you do a half mile or a 200. Because again, in order to keep you motivated, we have to be able to see those tiny little increments of improvement. And if we're not exactly measuring that distance, it's hard to see those improvements. Right. Because, you know, when you're running a 400, every couple of weeks, if you're improving by a second or two, that's huge. That's absolutely huge because, you know, you're going around that track as hard as you can at that point. So, you know, but the good news is those kind of shorter intervals, especially right now, everybody knows your big picture goal is to qualify for the Boston Marathon. That's not going to happen until we start a training cycle that starts in probably early June. Right now, Suzie is building towards the Jersey City Half Marathon. And when you're training for a half marathon has a lot in common with 10Ks and with 5Ks in the sense that top end speed really, really matters, like even in a half marathon. So your Tuesday track days are going to be a staple starting in like late January. And those track days will just expand and expand out. We'll probably, my guess is we'll probably top out in about 4 miles of on time on Tuesdays. Because while we could push you further, again, we don't want you so worn out at the end of Tuesday that, you know, Wednesday becomes impossible or Thursday becomes impossible. We're going to work on the shorter, sharper speed on Tuesdays. And then what you're going to see right now, your Thursdays are sort of your middle long run. You're kind of hanging around that 7 mile mark right now, just barely over half a marathon. So what we're going to start to do is we'll start introducing 2 mile and 1 mile and even some 800 meter or half mile intervals in the middle of that middle long run, so that you get your super speed going Tuesdays, you get a day to kind of chill, and then Thursday you go out for a 7 mile run and it'll have like 3 1 mile intervals separated.
Ooh, awesome.
So yeah, the tough stuff is coming. The tough stuff is coming. Now, Suzie.
Not that this is not tough. I mean, I don't want people to think that it requires a lot of work, and it requires a lot of like putting other things aside and just get it done. Like, because your training is very specific with like, you have to do core before these runs, and then you have to do strength training before these runs, and you need to time all of that. I mean, today I was exercising 2.5 hours, like with the run and the core work before and everything. I mean, it's a long, so you need to make sure you can make it happen. I mean, I'm on vacation this week, but once, you know, I start work again after the new year, I'm going to have to, I was actually timing this, I'm going to have to wake up at 5 in the morning to get all of it done, like the core.
Trust me, Suzie,
it's going to be really interesting.
I just want you to know that you will not be suffering alone, because I'm exactly in the same boat. I'm, you know, I don't want to get into this. This question from Toby is actually a great way for me to introduce this. Does Coach Paul have a coach? Currently, I am coaching myself, which, you know, folks, bad idea. You know, if you've got a big lofty goal, I would say don't coach yourself unless you've already found your way into a training plan that works very well for you, that you've already that is already established. You don't want to be going after a big plan, or a big goal, I should say, without the objectivity of somebody watching what you're doing and being able to say, even though you really want this, you need to back off because you're pushing too hard. You know, that's a big thing. And to know how to remix the component parts of your training cycle in the right order at the right time to make sure that you're still maximizing your potential. With that said, Toby, to answer your question, even though I am coaching myself right now, I am having conversations with other coaches that I don't want to give away a lot, but people who are like at levels that, like, it blows my mind that they're even willing to talk to me. So,
oh, that's so cool though.
So yeah, I think it's, you know, I don't think it's a bad thing for a coach to have a coach. In fact, I think that's a sign of a good coach, is to know that even though you've got the know-how, you don't necessarily have the objectivity to know what's working best for you. And that's why coaches should have coaches. Plus, right. It's a great learning opportunity too. I mean, it's not like I know everything. I know enough to get by and to do a good job with my runners, but it's a lifelong learning experience, just like everything else. So.
Right. Nobody knows everything. So yeah. But I think the objectivity part it's the most important piece. It's even more than, because they see what you're doing, and they see, if the coach is really paying attention, they see your heart rate, they see your speed, they see how you've been progressing over time, and they can really help you. So I don't think when you are the person doing your own training plan, you can really analyze that with the same level of detail and again, objectivity. So
absolutely, yeah. And then Lori asked pretty much that question. She said she's seen your progress over the last few weeks. Uh, and what a big difference. What is the biggest difference working with a coach? Suzie, I don't know if you want to add any more to that, but
Oh,
definitely that
it's
activity.
all the difference. Like there's no, yeah. Well, I actually was going to make a video about this because I have my own ideas. So I don't think all coaches are made equal. You have to find the right one,
Absolutely.
obviously. And I think Coach Paul is the right coach for me because I think you and I both look at running the same way. If you engage with a coach who has a different perspective on running, obviously the relationship is not going to work. I could not work with someone who is more focused on heart rate training, for example, because that's not my thing. It's just something I'm not interested in. And there are coaches there that just focus on that, on heart rate training. It has to be someone that looks at running the same way. And when I watch your videos and when I hear you talk about running, you talk about running the same way that I talk about running. So I think there's a synergy there. Like, I think we both feel like running makes us happy, and we are also we have aggressive goals as well. You do too.
Absolutely.
So I think there's a synergy there. But it makes all the difference because you can, for example, last week, instead of, I think my long run, instead of, there was some run that it did not do the full length of the run. I can't remember which one it was actually right now. But I messaged you and I said, so should I do my run tomorrow instead of 3 miles, do 5? Because, I should have done 12 miles. I did 10. So I messaged you and I said, so tomorrow I have 3. So should I do 5? And you told me, no, keep the 3. And then for Tuesday, what we're going to do is make your interval run harder so that, because that's going to give you more gains, physical gains, fitness gains,
Exactly.
than you doing these 2 easy miles on Sunday that you missed on Saturday. So that's something I would, if I have a plan that's off the shelf that I'm just looking at in a website, I just see that and I've done that. I'm like, okay, this run was shorter. I'm going to add the miles to these other run. That's what I would do because I don't know. And no one's there to tell me, this is what's going to give you better bang for your buck. This is where you should put your effort. So it's all,
Exactly.
the coach guides you. And a training plan that you find in a book is just the training plan that you find in a book. It's just for I think it's great for people who are trying to just find their, mojo in a way. It's just like, okay,
Yeah, exactly. I think if you're new to running, I think some generic plans, of course, are better than others. There are some which, I do not want to alienate myself from any particular brands or anything like that, but some are far superior to others. There are some that I downright think are dangerous. And when you're working with a coach, again, when the demands of daily life come up and you can't hit a particular workout, a coach can change the training plan to accommodate that, and do it, as Suzie said, in a way that's still going to allow you to make the gains that you want to make, instead of just saying, oh wow, I missed my speed session today, I'll just do it, I'll run the miles I'm supposed to run tomorrow and then do speed after that. And then all you're going to do is just overtax your body, and you're just going to put yourself in danger again of injury, or just get yourself so worn out that you just can't keep up the pace. You can't catch up. So just as a generic piece of advice for everybody who's out there, I would say if you miss a day, just swallow it. Just take the hit. Admit to yourself, okay, I missed it, but use that as motivation to pick up where you left off tomorrow. Don't try to make up for that. Don't push it to the next day and make tomorrow extra hard. That's just going to throw off your entire schedule. Just next time a workout comes up, just do your best with it. But don't try to stack days where you're trying to make up for what you missed. You're just going to have to move on. Just move on. You didn't miss so much that it's going to make a massive difference. Again, we're talking about from week to week, you're hoping for a 1 to 2% gain in fitness. Like, one workout in 1 week is so small. It's just, when things start to fall apart is when week after week you start to get lazy, when you start to miss it It becomes an occasional thing, not a one-time thing. And that's part of my job as a coach, is to keep you motivated. Most people who go to a coach are already really motivated. They really want the goal. And I'm just there to kind of cheer them on and to make sure they stay safe and to give them the workouts in the right order to get them there.
Yep. Also, I wanted to say this. So my Garmin, Garmin is a very popular watch for runners. When I was training for this last training for Atlantic City Marathon, which was I really wanted to go under 4 hours 30. When I was training with Higdon, I was following this plan. At the beginning, I was doing really, really well. There was a line that I crossed there that I was not necessarily tired all the time, but my watch kept saying, I'm productive, I'm productive, I'm productive, I'm productive. And I was like, well, maybe this is a thing that Garmin does. Like, what does Garmin know? Garmin doesn't do anything, doesn't know anything. Well, since I started working with you, it changed to productive, and I have all my training runs are productive. Like, there's nothing there that's unproductive ever. It's like all of them actually add fitness. And it's like, oh, maybe I was actually training too hard. Or putting them in I don't know, maybe the plan was telling me to do things that I shouldn't be doing. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell because some of the algorithms that are in these, I'm not even wearing it. I'm so used to having it on, but that are in the Garmin watches, they're very conservative, and some of the numbers, how they're doing the calculations, I don't understand. Like I'm just coming back from some time off after a half marathon race last month, and I'm just starting to build up my miles and even my speed work again myself. And it's showing that my VO2 max is like the highest it's ever been in my life. And I'm like, but I was working harder a month ago than I am now. Why are you telling me I've got this massive VO2 max right now? So you have to take it with a grain of salt. Like I always use it as, if it's a good number, I use it as motivation. If it doesn't look so great, I'm like, well, I know better. I always try to go towards the bright side. So, let me see.
There's a study that, I don't know who made it, but there's a study about, it might have been just Garmin doing it, but they take the Garmin VO2 max and they put those runners with those VO2 maxes numbers on the machine, and they actually measure it. And it's actually on average kind of accurate. Like, there's people that are off, but more often than not, it is kind of accurate. So if your VO2 max Garmin says 45, a lot of people, if they go to the machine, they're going to find out they're like either 44 or 46. It's kind of in that range. Like, it's not like if Garmin says 45, you are 38. It's just that doesn't happen. Like, it's kind of in that range. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If you want a general idea of where you are, and even if the number itself is not correct, and even if it is a little bit further out from reality than, we'd all like it to be, it will still generally show you trends. Like, you know what I mean? If it's showing that your VO2 max is improving, it's improving, and VO2 max, I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent here, but is your body's ability to uptake oxygen and put it to work in your muscles, the maximum amount of oxygen that your body can process in order for you to run faster, run further, etc. So it's an important number. It's not the end all and be all, but it's an important number. Suzie, I want to talk a little bit about cross training and core work with you. How has that changed for you? And before we jump in, I just want to address this question from Mr. Germson. He's talking about, he loves lifting. He loves running. A little bit of a typo there, I'm assuming. But
yes, I was like.
Mr. Germson, I think that very much depends on your perspective on your personal fitness. If you are a person who loves lifting, who just lives to lift, and you're doing some running in order to supplement your cardiovascular capabilities, then I'd say lift first, run when you can. If, on the other hand, you consider yourself a runner, you are like super passionate about running, so much more than you are about lifting, always run before you lift, because you want, whatever is your biggest passion in life, put it first in the day, like chronologically I'm talking about. get the thing you're most passionate about done first, because then your body has the energy for you to get the prime, the the the, the best of your ability into that workout. And then the other one you treat as secondary. If you go out there and you lift, and especially if you're lifting heavy, and then you go out for a run and you consider yourself a runner, you're not going to be able to perform at your best. You're not going to be able to get the most out of that run. And as a result, you are not going to progress as a runner as fast as you would if you got that run done, came home, ate something healthy, got a little bit of rest, and then went after your weightlifting. That's what I do as a runner. That's what I am very insistent that all of my clients do as well. Now, with that long-winded answer, please, Suzie, talk a little bit about your core training, how it's progressed so far, and your strength training as well.
So when you and I started talking about coaching, you told me, well, I asked all my runners to do 60 minutes, like 20 minutes core routine for a total of like 60 minutes a week. Are you up for that? Like, would you start doing this even though I'm not training you yet? And I said, oh yeah, super. And then I was thinking about it. I told you, can I do it 10 minutes a day, every day? Which I think surprised you. But I was like, it's just 10 minutes is nothing. 10 minutes, you can find 10 minutes any time of the day. So I started doing those 10 minutes and quickly I don't know what is with training core, but you see the benefits so quickly. It's like you can lift, or maybe this is just me, but I can do deadlifts and I could do deadlifts forever. I could never feel the change in my hamstrings, or it's so hard to see. But the core, like you see it, it's so rewarding because you see it so quickly.
Absolutely.
But what I noticed too is that my hips, so I used to have like little twinges in my hips, especially the left one. I don't know why. It's probably some muscle imbalance somewhere. But like tingling, like nothing that, it's just like a little bother, nothing that we change my form and that doesn't happen anymore. Like I've been doing core. Like now what I'm doing is I do 20 minutes. I do 60 minutes a week, but I do 20 minutes before the runs that you tell me to. So it's 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes before I go out for a run. It just makes all the difference. Yeah. And you also feel it in your body. Like it's, like the clothes fit differently. It's just like, it's really incredible. I don't know. Training core is super rewarding. Physically for your performance, and also like physically, like what you see in the mirror. Yeah. I'm exactly. So on board with
Yeah, the wonderful thing about core is that, as you said, Suzie, it affects every moment of your day. It just, you're standing taller, you're breathing better all through the day. You feel more energetic as a result. And
my balance is better. Like I've noticed, I used to, like when I was doing certain things, strength training, if I have to do something on just one leg, I would kind of like feel a little imbalance at first, and then like find that doesn't happen anymore. And I'm convinced this because of the core. Like you have your balance. Like you don't tilt. You're straight. You stand the right way.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's the big thing. And Mr. Germson is asking, Suzie, on 20 minutes core routines before your run. Yes. That let's make the distinction right now that core work is not strength work. Those, as far as I'm concerned as a running coach, those are two different things. I recommend that if, as a runner, if you are not already doing core work, start off with 3 days a week with at least 1 day rest in between, because we're not trying to get you so sore, in the solar plexus that you can't, that life just becomes not pleasant anymore. So start off with 3 days a week with a day's rest in between. Spend at least a couple of weeks just doing that, and then just add a day. Add a day when it's convenient. I like runners to start those first 3 days on the days that they're having, so that it coincides with their tougher run days. because it's a great way to wake up your system before you go out for the run. I always recommend you do your core before you run, because it helps you hold better form. And I cannot stress enough how important form is, like being cognizant of your running form, not just going out there and sort of slouching it and just kind of swinging your chicken wing in your arms and crossing over the midline of your body. All that stuff increases your chances of injury. It lowers your efficiency as a runner, so that you have to put, if you're not running with good form, you have to put more energy into just moving forward. If you are paying very close attention to sort of running tall, keeping your chin parallel to the ground, keeping your head balanced over your shoulders, making sure that your shoulders are relaxed, don't tense up. But a lot of people, even like super elite athletes, tense up, and you see them at the later stages of a longer run running like this, and they have to remind themselves to just drop those shoulders and swing your arms freely, straight back and forth. None of this stuff, just this. And a lot of this stuff is going to feel really unnatural when you first start doing it, but just keep it up. And don't try to make all these fixes at once. Like every day you go out, concentrate on one aspect of it until it becomes second nature, then move on to the next thing. Just to kind of drive some more traffic to more of my videos, everybody. I do have a dedicated form video that goes through the entire bullet list and shows you how to do it, and goes in minute detail into why it's important to have good form. But the big picture is you want good form so that you can run longer using less energy and put yourself at lower risk of injury along the way.
Right.
When you're 20 miles into a marathon and you want to be anywhere but there, it sure does help a lot knowing that you used up way less energy to get to that 20-mile marker than if you were sort of all over the place. I guess that's enough said on that subject. But Suzie, how has specifically strength training gone for you so far?
So I used to do I think I was doing a lot of strength training. So I think I'm doing less. I haven't compared like when I was, again, training on my own and now with you. I think I was doing more strength training then. But I think right now it's more effective, because I was doing strength training the wrong days. I was doing strength training the days that I had my easy runs.
Gotcha.
And then usually I was sore for the workouts that were important, for the intervals and the tempos and all that. Then I would have like hamstring soreness, and so I'm sure my form was compromised. And now, because I'm doing everything on the hard days, I think it's just working a lot better, because then, like Tuesdays, I do my core first, then I go out for a run, then I do my strength. On Wednesdays that I have my 3 miles easy, I'm just recovering. Exactly. So it's like I don't have to, like, I'm just cruising. I'm doing my easy miles, and I don't have to concentrate so much. So even if I'm a little sore, it's not really that important, because I don't have to like push it. So yes, It is important to have good form, but it's not as key. So, and then also my body just recovers. I sleep better. Like I'm super tired on Tuesday, but then Wednesday I'm like I have time to recover. And then Thursday you hit it again. You do the longer. I did my core this morning, and then I did my 7 miles, and then I did so Tuesday I did lower body. Today I did arms and chest. So I try to like alternate, because you can't always, I think, when you're doing strength training, it's just not good to overload the same muscle all the time. It's good to alternate, I think, at my stage. I mean, if I was lifting a lot more days and more weight, that's probably different. But for me, I think I need to alternate. Otherwise, I'm going to burn my
oh, absolutely.
Too many lunges and too many,
Yeah, exactly. You, as runners, strength training is hugely important. This is just like the point I'm trying to hammer home when it comes to core work. So many people want to get faster, and they think they're going to get faster by going out there and just running as fast as they can for as long as they can all the time. 9 times out of 10, you're just going to end up injured that way. If you want to get faster, I'm looking into your eyes. Everybody who watches this video, I'm talking to you. This applies to everybody. If you want to get faster, more quickly, get on the core work. Do it till you're doing it 7 days a week. Take a couple of months to get there. Don't overdo it. And then secondarily, once your core routine is there, once it's a daily, you wake up, you roll out of bed and you do it. Sorry, folks, I'm just dealing with the computer trying to turn itself off here. Windows always knows best, right? Once you have a well-established daily core routine, that's when you want to start doing your strength work. As we talked about earlier with Mr. Germson, if you consider yourself a runner and that's where you want to make your big gains, that's where your passion in life is, you always want to do your strength work on your hard run days. The days where you're doing your hard run workouts, that's the days you're going to come home and force yourself to do weights afterwards. The idea is you're trying to polarize your training. Your hard days are going to be hard, as Susie said. It's difficult mentally to come home from a tough run, but get something to eat, get some balanced calories into you, get some rest, get rehydrated, and then hit the weights. Because then the next day, when you've got nothing but a 3 or 4 easy run, is all about recovery. The day is going to be mostly about doing nothing, just giving your body the rest it needs to recover, so that by the time Thursday comes around, you're ready to hit it again. Don't sort of try to mix it so that you're doing the same amount of effort every day. That's not the way to fast gains. If you want to get fast quickly, hard days hard, easy days easy. Seth DeMore talks all about this, and the more he talks about it, the better. Just to back up a little bit here, Janet Paul is asking you, Susie, a little bit more about your core stuff.
So this is something I really didn't know. Coach Paul had to tell me. So core is everything. That's not. So imagine that you're taking your, like your chest out, your arms and your legs. Everything else is core. So even your lower back is core. Mm-hmm. Your belly is core, and your hips are core. Part of that.
Hips and glutes as well. Yeah, treat your glutes as core as well.
And your glutes, yes. Sorry, I was saying your legs off. Your glutes are part of your core as well. So that being said, I was doing, when I started doing my core routine, when Coach Paul told me to do this, I was doing a lot of like ab work, and he saw a video and he said, well, just so you know, and then he explained it to me. So I said, okay. So Coach Paul has a really good video on his channel that covers everything. So I don't know if maybe you want to put that link later on the.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I will. I didn't do it beforehand, but I will immediately after this. I will share sort of what I always consider like sort of my 3 most important videos for runners. One being about cadence and good form. The other one being about core work. The other one being about a comprehensive strength training routine for runners. I cover all that.
So now I've been doing. Going back to Janet, I've been doing a lot of Peloton, and the reason why I've been doing a lot of Peloton is because on the app, you actually see they have like a little picture of your body, and you see which muscles you're going to be hitting. Okay. So I skip the core work that's just abs, and I just click on the ones that have highlighted. So it's a white body with all the muscles, and the muscles that you're going to be working are highlighted in blue. So when I see lower back, glutes, hips, and abs, that's when I actually click and do that routine. So, and they have like thousands of core. I mean, you click, and they might have 5,000 core routines. So you can find one that actually covers everything. They have plenty. The one I did this morning, you do like Superman's, and like you're working your back. You do whatchamacallit, those things where you lifting your tushy.
Yeah.
So you work everything. You do like single leg. So they are wonderful for like your hip flexors, because you do a lot of, if you're doing it right, you're going to be working your hip flexors a lot, which is, I think, what keeps you, like that has again, a huge, because I've
exactly.
done ab work before, but I was just working my abs. I wasn't doing anything like involving my hips. And I think that's, there's muscles there that need to be awakened. So
Yes, and the hips are such a difficult set of muscles to deal with. And the reason you always hear running coaches and the various YouTube personalities talking about the importance of those hip flexors, which are, see if I can do this. Right here, it's those muscles that are like right here. It's they're tiny, but they're so important because those are the muscles that have the job of lifting your knee, getting that knee nice and high. And without a high knee, you can't drive hard. And if you can't drive hard into the ground, there's no speed. There's no speed. So, not only do you have to be doing core work in order to be able to lift that knee higher more quickly, but it's also important. Again, we're endurance runners. So it's one thing to have explosive strength in those hips so that you can run fast. That's why, like track stars, that's why like, the fastest guys in the world who are running the really short distances, they work those muscles like crazy to try to get them as big as they possibly can. But as distance runners, we're more concerned with, when you're 22 miles into the marathon, having the endurance. So we don't have to we don't need to lift massive amounts of weight in order. We're more worried about keeping them toned so that when you're 20 miles into that race, they're not just aching and you fall into, you're no longer like running and lifting your knees as high as you can. We all tend to like fall into that sort of marathon shuffle where we're like barely picking our feet up off the ground.
She's just in maintenance mode. You're just getting by.
You're just trying to survive at that point. Yeah. Exactly. But if you're doing your core work every single day, what you'll find is when you were starting to fall apart at mile 18 before, you're not really hurting that badly until mile 22, 23 now. And then it's just a matter of willpower to just, push through those final couple miles. But it makes all the difference. If you want to get fast.
It is. I mean, I don't want to, I'm not just saying it. It is, there's no one who's paying us to say that core work is important. It's just a difference. Like in between, like being able to hold your form and not. And I think it accumulates over time and you get better and better and better. So.
Yeah,
pelvic raises. Exactly. That's right. Yes, those pelvic raises.
Yeah,
those are
great. Double leg and single leg. That's a big part of my daily routine right there.
Yeah, you have them on your video.
Yep. So let's see here. I'm just trying to catch up on these chat messages. Coach, I recently trained my tibialis anterior muscles near the calf area. It really helps me. I took this from. Okay, very cool, very cool. Yeah, exactly. That entire, again, all those muscles there are so small, and they're all trying to keep you stable over the entire range of movement. And you bring up a great point here, Mr. Germson. That whole family of muscles that live in your hips are trying to keep you stable, not just in that sort of forward motion, which as runners, that's all we tend to worry about, is just trying to be able to move straight forward. But you have to be strong moving this way as well. You have to be stable from side to side as well. And that's what the weight training is all about. Otherwise, when we get tired and we get sloppy out there on the marathon course or the half marathon course, all it takes is like one rock that you didn't see, and suddenly your foot turns slightly sideways and your leg has to compensate, and somehow it makes it up your kinetic chain and just throws your hip, and the next thing you know, pain, and you've got a strain and you've got a torn, anything in that kinetic chain can tear at that point. So that's what the strength training is all about. We're trying to make you bulletproof. We're trying to make it so that you can go out there and run hard and run long and just keep on getting away with it, basically. So what do we have here? We've got another question from Lori. What is your weekly mileage looking like now versus what it will be when you do your half? I'm going to let
a question for you.
Yeah. Well, exactly. The funny thing about this, I'm delivering Suzie's training plan sort of a month at a time, because I like for my runners to. I like for them to be able to look far enough into the future so that they kind of know what's coming for a few weeks, but they don't get psyched out by, if you look 6 weeks into the future, you're going to see some workouts on there that could make you go, oh, I can't do that. It'll scare you. So, but the thing is, by the time that 6 weeks comes up, you'll be more than capable of doing it. But I don't want to psych you out. So as a coach, I let you look 4 weeks into the future at a time, basically. Suzie started off. What was your? I don't have. I'm working off of a single screen here, so I don't have.
I started at 30 miles. I think the first week. Yeah. This week is 34. And then next week, because of Goofy, it's 50. I think it's 50. I think because just Goofy is 39. So.
Yeah. So basically, the way it's going to work, Suzie will probably top out somewhere in the mid 40s, 40 miles, like 40, 45 miles a week, somewhere in there. And that'll probably happen about 5 weeks before the race, because the way I like to structure training plans, and the way you'll see most half marathon and full marathon training plans, is that the first quarter, you're just building your base. We just want you to be able to run more miles slowly, so that the only strain on your system is actually physically running more miles. We're not worried too much about intensity. We just want to get you to where you can run a lot of miles. Then we get into the strength phase, where you're starting to introduce small amounts of speed work. You're doing a little bit of hill running. You're starting to do fartleks. And then as we move into the third stage, that's when we're going to start. By the time you hit the third stage of a training cycle, you should pretty much be at your maximum mileage. And we're going to try to maintain that, maybe pull back just a couple of miles a week. And that extra energy that you have from running slightly less mileage is going to go directly into massive amounts of speed work. Like that's the point where Suzie is no longer going to be. She's smiling now, but trust me, by the time we get to like early February, Suzie's going to be like not saying such kind things about me anymore, because she's going to be working so hard. She's going to be exhausted a lot of the time. But then we go into stage 4 of the training cycle, which is going into the taper, which is where we're bringing down the amount of miles, not just mildly, but a lot. Over, like, for a half marathon, it's usually a 2-week period where we're bringing down your mileage considerably. But here's something, in case you're designing your own training plans, all the runners who are watching this, we're not bringing down the intensity. We're still hammering. On Tuesdays, you're still going to be at the track. We'll bring down the number of repetitions that you do at the track. But I still expect you to be out there hitting it as hard as you can, like you're killing yourself out there. And then when we get to Thursdays, where you're doing your middle long runs, there will still be plenty of like 1 mile, 2 mile tempo run work in there. You have to keep the intensity, because once your body is used to that, once your metabolism is used to burning at that high level, you can't just abandon that. We'll bring the miles down so you're burning less calories overall, and your muscles have more of an opportunity to recover. Right. But on those hard days, you're still bam, bam, bam. You're still like, whew, when is this race going to come? When do I get a break? But what you'll find, hey, Michael Sanderson, sorry. I wanted to shout out Michael, another amazing runner from the UK who is one fast dude, and really keeps me motivated a lot of the time just watching him do his work. Just a great channel. We also have Relentless Pursuit of Shade. How's it going? Toby says, great discussion. Have a great day all. Thank you for being here, Toby. Yeah, so that's kind of like the structure. Suzie will be, as I said, probably maxing out somewhere around 45 miles a week. Um, and that kind of stuff, I say probably because we don't really know. One of the big benefits, again, of having a coach is that we're planning your training on the fly. We know where we want to go in general. We know what the overall structure of the training cycle is going to look like. But the amount of intensity that I throw at Suzie and the number of miles that I throw at Suzie and the order in which all that gets mixed together, we're making those decisions on the fly because she may have a week where just work or the family is just, there's just too much stress there. And we have to back off the running because you can't, everything that happens in your life affects your run. You know, if you're not eating well, there's a lot of, Christmas parties, there's a lot of New Year's parties for everybody right now. You're not eating ideally. So that's going to affect your running. We can't hit you hard. We can't expect maximum intensity out of your runs if the inputs, if the nutrition isn't there to back it up. So these are all the kind of things that change over time and the huge benefits of having a coach. I'm not saying come to me. I
No,
may
but
not be your
yes, go to
style
him.
I'm very much a go by feel. I like to run by feel. I like my runners to tell me how they're feeling a couple of times a week minimum, because that will affect how I tell them to adjust to that. I go into the deep numbers, like pace is very important to me. That's the one place I am very, very by the book. Like I want my runners to hit a particular pace. And if they start to stray by more than 10 seconds is pushing it for me in all truth. I want people within 5 seconds of their intended pace for particular workouts. And even on easy runs, if I see people running too fast on their easy runs, I'll immediately tell them, back off, back off. But like the numbers, like VO2 max numbers, like heart rate, that stuff is secondary for me. If everything's going really well and I'm getting good reports back from my runners like Suzie, and they're saying, I feel great, okay, that's all I need to know to say we can probably get a couple more miles in this week, or we can probably get in an extra 800 meters on Tuesday. If things are starting to seem strained, that's when I'll dig into the numbers really, really minutely to try to find out where things are going wrong and where we can make an adjustment. But yeah, I can't recommend you finding a coach that works for you highly enough. Let's see what Bev has to say here. I'm so impressed with how useful and interesting these live streams are with you both. Thank you so much, Bev. That's awesome. I love talking with Suzie because not only is she an incredible YouTuber, which, by the way, folks, if you don't already subscribe to Suzie, holy moly, get over there, open another tab right now and get yourself subscribed, because Suzie started on YouTube like a year before me, and she is one of the people who really, really encouraged me to pursue this whole sort of YouTube thing. I think not only as a YouTuber, but as a person and as a runner, she is so inspiring. So get subscribed.
Thank you.
With that said, Suzie, I just want to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about kind of what you want to see over the entire training cycle that we're talking about. Again, to remind everybody who's just tuned in, currently Suzie is working towards the Jersey City Half Marathon, which is on April 23rd, I believe. Mm-hmm. So we've still got a good ways to go in this training cycle. But Suzie, what do you want to see even in the next month or even throughout the entire training cycle? What's kind of going to keep you challenged and happy the whole way?
So I have noticed the progressive runs I suck at. So that's one thing that I want to do better. I start, no matter how, because I'm like, okay, they're progressive. Let's start slower, and then obviously get faster. Mm-hmm. There's always a mile in there that I kind of lose, and I go backwards. So if I'm doing 10:30, there's a mile there that I go 10:40, and it's like, why did this So I want to master them. So that's my goal. Because I think the intervals, I'm able to say, okay, I'm running this. Like I am very focused during the intervals, but for some reason the progressive runs, I think it's a break. Like when you're doing intervals, it breaks in your mind. It's like, okay, I'm doing this, and then I'm doing this, and then I'm doing this, and everything is like in little chunks. So when you're doing the progressive runs, it's just one big chunk. And I have to find the mechanics in my brain to really be able to manage them better. So that's something I would really like to do well, like be able to do the
No, that's
progression
something.
runs the right way, not just
And just to kind of bring everybody else up to speed, when we're talking about progression runs, usually those will only happen on a middle long run in the middle of the week, or on a long run on a Saturday or Sunday. And the idea is that you start off at your easy pace for a block of, say, 3 miles. We'll just talk about blocks of 3 miles to make it easy. But you want to start out easy on all your runs. You should always, even on days where you're going to the track or doing hard workouts, you always want to reserve the first mile at least, or 2 miles, just for easy running, just to kind of get everything working in your system and get your muscles used to moving before you strain them. And then over blocks of like 3 miles, you want to increase your pace by 10 to 15 seconds per mile and hold it. And the entire point of each block is to make you cognizant. Like you're constantly having to check your watch like every half mile or so to make sure you're in that range. And what that allows you to do, number one, it gives you discipline to hold a given pace. Number two, your body starts to recognize that mind-body connection. You start to recognize what a particular pace feels like, so that by the time a month goes by and you've done a number of progression runs, you start to internalize that feeling. Like before you even look at your watch while you're running, you can already give yourself a pretty good guess of, I know what pace I'm running right now. Within 10 to 15 seconds, I know how fast I'm moving. And that comes in really handy, like especially in races when you're like not in the middle of a big city or something where GPS is going to be functioning at its best. I've run plenty of marathons like down mountains through hills, with plenty of like forest cover where the watch is gone. Like it's not helping you. It's not getting a signal. But I know I'm running within 5 to 10 seconds of the pace I'm supposed to be running at because I've internalized it over weeks and weeks of training. I know what 625 feels like, or I know what whatever pace feels like. And I'm by the time I get my GPS back, I know I'm pretty close. The other thing that's really important about progression runs is it teaches you to grind. When you in those later miles, you're forcing yourself to go faster when your body is saying slow down, or don't go any faster. Like for me, by the time I hit 15 miles on a long run, that's when it starts to feel bad. That's when it's kind of like, I don't want to be here. I'd rather be doing anything, than this. And to teach yourself to say, I'm sore. I feel bad. There's no sharp pain. Sharp pain is always a sign to stop. But if you're really sore and you're just feeling bad, you learn to override that. Your brain, you start to realize that you're catastrophizing a little bit. Your body can take a whole heck of a lot more before it gives out. And that's what gives you your PRs. That's what gets you to your BQ, is the ability to say, yeah, my body hurts right now. Yeah, I'd rather be anywhere but here, but I'm going to push faster. I'm going to pick up the pace. I'm going to do it because I know in 45 minutes I'll be eating a slice of pizza and I'll be celebrating because I just earned my first Boston qualifier. So that's what really it's all about. Progression runs are just an absolute staple. Once I get runners to a point where they've done a couple of them, I like to actually, like right now, Suzie's running a progression run probably once every 3 weeks. Once we get to the latter stages of her training cycle, it'll be every second week, simply because we're hammering. At that point, I know her body is solid enough that she can handle that kind of strain more often. So
yeah. So to answer your question, I want to be the way that I picture myself being. So when I am running, I picture myself running tall and fast and that turn, like that's the way that I picture myself. And then I see videos of me running or pictures and it's like, that's nothing at all like it didn't look like that in my brain. So I want to be what I picture myself I am. So there's a disconnect there, like I picture myself going super, super fast. Like, I don't know, like I'm flying and like, but then it's not the reality. So I want that to connect. I want my body to really behave the way that I picture it in my brain. I just want to be light and just like have this long, When I was running New York City Marathon, which was not a good marathon, it's still my PR, but it was not a good marathon for me. I kept thinking, why can't I be like Shalane Flanagan? Like she has those long legs, which is a tiny little thing, but do you see her running and it's like long? She was almost flying. It was like jumping. And it was like, I picture myself being that person, like me, my face, my body, just doing that. But I can't. So I want those things to match. I want to be able to do that. Not only my dreams, like I want to be able to execute that.
Well, the good thing is, Suzie, is you're on your way because you're doing your daily core work. You're doing your strength work on your hard days. You're putting in the work. Like you said, you're doing 3+ hours of work on your hard days. When you add up your core, your run, and your strength work on like Tuesdays.
And then your drills. Yeah, it's a lot of time. Yeah, it's long. Yeah.
It's a lot of time, but you're putting in the work and it's already showing the benefits. And Suzie, I want to thank you so much for being here today because it's so valuable, not just for me to sit here on my channel and talk about, here's what you have to do. Here's what you should be doing if you're a runner. I feel like I do this all the time. And I'm sure like all coaches feel like they can say this till they're blue in the face, but there is nothing as convincing that this stuff is important as when a runner, a real true runner who's learning this, especially learning it for the first time, when they sing the praises of this kind of work, when you're putting in the work and you're seeing the benefits already, you are living proof that yes, just do the core work, just put in the strength work, just lift weights twice a week and combine that with your runs and you're going to be faster. Suzie's already faster and we've got a couple of months that are super fast. Like, trust me, folks, she's just going to keep on keeping on. She's such a wonderful person. She's so enthusiastic. And as a coach, that's everything. When you're working with somebody who's really out there, really working hard and enjoying the process, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. And this live stream goes so far to helping to convince other runners that it really is this simple. It's a lot of hard work, but there's no like secret. There's no like, nobody's hiding the real secret to getting faster away in a dark corner somewhere. It's just a matter of walking the walk. You just got to do the work. So thank you.
It's simple. It's not easy. It's simple, but not easy. Yeah.
Exactly. It's easy to understand the concepts, but putting in the actual effort, that's where the magic is. So thank you, Suzie, for being here. Everybody, again, if you haven't already subscribed to Suzie's channel, get on it and get on it now because it's just a lot of fun and there's so much learning. So thank you. Thank you, Suzie, again. Folks, I don't know what else I need to say. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, there's going to be plenty more tips. Yeah, there's plenty more tips and tricks coming your way. You can follow along with all of my training. I'm currently training for the Myrtle Beach Marathon on March 4th of 2023. Ridiculous amounts of work being put into that. So I encourage you to follow along and ask questions along the way or suggestions on how I can train better. I'm always open to that. So with that, folks, thank you for being here. We're going to sign off. Have a great day.
Have a great day. See you around.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.